The day the bandages were removed from my eyes, I played a cruel joke, pretending I was still blind. My husband and best friend fell for it instantly, their voices dripping with false sympathy as they vowed to care for me forever. But that very night, their whispers turned to moans, their promises to panting breaths. There they were, tangled in our bed, my best friend riding my husband, both thinking I couldn't see their betraying faces twisted in pleasure. "Yasim," she gasped between thrusts, "I'm just giving your husband a massage." The lie was so vile I nearly retched, but revenge I decided would taste so much sweeter. When they were finally done, I tried to find an excuse to leave the room, but my 5-year-old son suddenly ran in. "Mom, I missed you so much." My heart softened. I was about to open my arms to embrace him, but he ran straight past me and snuggled up beside my best friend. The three of them looked like a perfect family, all smiles. But when they looked at me, their faces twisted with disdain. I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped out of the room and dialed my lawyer. Bring the divorce papers. If they were so happy as a family of 3, I would give them what they wanted. I just wondered if my best friend could afford to support this pair of freeloaders. Yasim, don't mind the sounds. A massage needs to be firm, so it's bound to make some noise." When I heard Laura Merling's voice, I bit my lips so hard that I almost drew blood, but I stayed silent. I let out a faint and pretended to be asleep. The bed was shaking. The three of us were lying there. Me, my husband Tom Grant, and my best friend Laura. It was the 3rd day since I was discharged from the hospital. Ever since I told them I was blind, Laura had moved into my house to take care of me, which also included giving my husband his nightly massage. Their clothes were tangled on the floor, and they were curled up in the bed, trembling under the covers. The atmosphere was charged with lust. One was my husband, and the other was my best friend. Weren't they afraid of being seen? Of course they weren't afraid, because they thought I was blind. Opening my eyes in the dark, a wave of nausea surged in my stomach. I had to bite my lip to hold it down. They didn't know I was pretending. They thought I couldn't see, and they did whatever they pleased for the thrill of it. The three of us ended up in the same bed. Laura wore my $1 million jewelry, ate luxury meals in my mansion, dressed in my designer clothes, and carried my bags. Even my son, who'd always been so stubborn with me, changed his tune. He happily jumped into her arms. Dazed, I heard my son, London, call out for Mom. But it wasn't me he was calling. It was Lara. "Ah!" As I recalled all of this, a gasp suddenly came from the bed. The two of them had finished. "I'm exhausted," Lara shuddered, immediately crawling out from under the covers. She sweetly said, "The massage is done." With my back to them, I kept my eyes closed under the soft nightlight, silently watching their figures as they dressed. "I'll go back to bed. See you tomorrow, Yasim," Lara said. She wore a seductive nightgown, blushing as she waved at Tom. I pretended to be asleep, waiting an hour before Tom quietly got out of bed. Once he left the room, I grabbed my phone and saw the message my lawyer had sent. "The divorce papers are ready." As I thought about the scenes that had unfolded these past few days while I was blind, my eyes turned cold. I scanned the room and sent another message. "By the way, don't forget the prenuptial agreement. I want Tom to leave with nothing." And that son of mine, who wanted Lara to be his new mom? Well, I would let him have his wish. I couldn't wait to see Lara's hopes shatter into nothing. The first day I got home, Lara and Tom decided to give me a little surprise. They said they were going to take good care of me, but now one of them was wearing my dress with the other's hand under it. And that was just on the first day. When I found out Tom and Lara were cheating right in front of me, I didn't make a scene. Instead, I quietly turned on the villa's security cameras and acted like everything was fine, letting them care for me however they liked. But what really broke my heart was my son, London. He was exactly like Tom. They shared the same cold, calculating look. Not only did London cover for his dad, but he even slipped sleeping pills into my milk and brought it to me. If Mom drinks this milk every day, can Lara be my mom forever? Hearing those words as I hid behind the door sent a chill down my spine. I'd been there for him from the moment he was born, taking care of him nonstop. I even sacrificed most of my work to focus on him and our family. He had everything: expensive toys, trips to the amusement park, the best clothes and food. Even when he threw tantrums, I handled it with patience. I never once thought about hurting him, even when he bit me hard enough to draw blood. But now, "Mom, have some milk." He stood there with that cup of drugged milk, looking so excited, urging me to drink it. I felt disgusted, but tried to hide it. I pretended I didn't know, took a sip, and played along. Afterward, London ran off, happy and skipping. As he left, he didn't forget to call back to me. "Faster, Mom." At that moment, everything shifted. This kid, my own son, had always been cold toward me. Even after I lost my sight, he was poisoning me, and even hid blades in my towels. Whenever I lectured him, Tom always said, "He's just a kid. He doesn't know any better." But is that really true? London's gaze was filled with disgust. It was clear that wasn't just childish ignorance. Some kids were just bad, no matter what. I didn't want him anymore. I spit out the milk and watched him leap into Tom and Lara's arms on the security footage. The three of them being so happy made my blood run cold. Their smiles were a knife to my heart. But what cut even deeper was the stuff they said. "She's just a blind woman. Who cares when she dies? If it weren't for her money, I wouldn't have married her. From now on, we're a family. This is our home now. Even London calls you Mom." The smug expression was written all over their faces. I was stunned, more than I could even explain, and I immediately sent the video to my lawyer. When Laura mentioned she wanted the house, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. She was so caught up in Tom's promises, imagining a life of luxury, completely unaware that Tom was just a house husband. This house belongs to my family. I almost wanted to see her face when she found out the truth. "Yasim, dinner's ready." As Laura helped me to the dining table, I saw Tom and London eating steak and lobster, chewing loudly with grease dripping from their mouths. In front of me were a few plates of vegetables. Laura and Tom had a bottle of expensive red wine open in front of them. "Oh no, I accidentally spilled the wine," Laura said. "There's a strong smell of alcohol." She waved her hand dramatically, her face plastered with fake sympathy, as she gently sat me down and served me some vegetables. "The doctor said you need a light diet, so I made all vegetarian dishes for you." Vegetarian? Across the table, lobster, steak, and chicken soup were on display, and she was telling me this was a vegetarian feast. London, feeling like I was no longer in charge, chewed his food loudly and deliberately took huge bites of the steak right in front of me. "Mom, look at me! I can eat broccoli all by myself now." He shoved a piece of lobster into his mouth as he said it. Tom chuckled, exchanged a pleased look with Laura, and grinned proudly. "Our son's awesome, huh?" I might be blind, but my nose still worked. My fist clenched under the table, and I could feel Laura's gaze on me. She seemed a bit confused. "Yasim, are you really blind?" I shuddered. My heart skipped a beat as her eyes locked onto me, suspicion creeping into her voice. Maybe she realized something was off, but it didn't matter. I steadied myself and suddenly grabbed her wrist. She flinched, startled, and instinctively tried to pull away. "What are you? Lara, why do I smell beef and chicken soup?" I beat her to the punch. Laura froze for a second, her brows relaxing, and then she smiled. "Your mistake, Yasim. It's probably from the neighbors." She picked up her fork and started stirring my bowl, but I caught the moment when she spat into it. She picked up a piece of veggie and moved to feed me. "Just eat up, Yasim. The food's getting cold." Tom and London looked on, a mix of smugness, excitement, and mild disgust on their faces. No one stepped in to stop this. I took a deep breath, turned my head, and dodged her hand. "Ugh, Lara, this smells terrible. This vegetable's gone bad, right? Just throw it away. It's not worth eating." The fork clattered to the floor and Laura clenched her jaw. "Fine," she muttered through gritted teeth. Disappointment spread across the faces of Tom and London. The last thread of hope I had was shattered. I was indeed blind. I had actually gotten tangled up with a bastard and given birth to a terrible child. Fortunately, I still had a way out. The dinner was awkward, the air thick with tension. The next day, after London left for school, Tom and Lara made their move. Lara drenched herself in perfume and dressed in as little fabric as possible, linking hands with Tom, ready to head out. "Oh, London has some school activity, so I'm going with Tom to attend. He's just so cute, you know? I'll tell you all about it when I get back." Tom's hand rested on Laura's backside as he urged her to hurry, saying they'd be late if they didn't leave right now. Their smiles were so obnoxious that it almost hurt to look at them. Without waiting for me to say anything, they rushed out the door. Once they were gone, I stood up from the couch and stepped on the scarf Laura had left behind. My mind racing, I sent a message and waited by the door. I couldn't take it anymore. Today I was going to kick them out of this villa for good. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. A group of men appeared, and behind them was my lawyer. I couldn't help but smile. I waved my hand, signaling them to come in. Take everything from the second floor, the children's room, the walk-in closet, anything that belongs to the men or the child. Throw it all out. Oh, and don't forget the guest room. Get everything out of there too. Keep the valuable stuff. Those were stolen from me. The sound of things being moved around filled the air, and I rubbed my chin, giving one last instruction. And I need new locks. Don't let those 3 back in. The first to come home was London. "Mom, open the door." "Why'd you close it? Open up. I want to play games." While the housekeeper was preparing my dinner, London kept banging on the door from outside. "Mom, open the door. You're blind. How could you get out of here? Yasim, how dare you treat me like this? I'll tell Dad. I'm not calling you Mom anymore." London eventually wore himself out, and night fell. I finished a fancy meal alone, then set my plate down and looked at the door. 2 figures appeared outside. The car was blocked by security. Tom, furious, held Laura as they walked up to the door. When they saw London shivering from the cold, Tom completely lost it. "Where is she? Yasim, have you lost your mind? Locking the kid outside? You blind woman? Are you deaf as well?" Laura covered her mouth in fake sympathy. She had the keys and moved to open the door. "I'll unlock it. Next time, just record my face and fingerprints too." The key wouldn't go in. Laura's face froze, confused. "I'll do it." Tom stepped up and tried to open the door with his face in front of the sensor. A few seconds passed, but the door remained closed. Still not giving up, he pressed his finger to the sensor. This time the door opened. He cleared his throat, and as soon as he tried to step in, a pair of strong hands pushed him back. The door hadn't opened for him. I had asked someone to open it. As soon as Tom stepped inside, he began shouting, "You crazy woman! Why did you lock the door? Are you doing dirty?" When he saw the bodyguards behind me, his voice faltered. But then he started yelling again. "Yasmin, what's your problem? You're blind, so we've been looking. After you, and this is how you repay us? You don't even..." Before he could finish, I took a few steps forward, picked up the phone he had dropped, and casually slid it into his pocket. In the stunned silence of the 3 of them, I took off my sunglasses and winked at them. "Who said I'm blind? I can see everything." For a split second, Tom stood there frozen, his face draining of color, then flushing red with anger. He realized he'd been played and tried to confront me, but this time I didn't give him a chance to speak. I slapped Tom across the face and threw the divorce papers in his face. "Take your mistress and your rotten son and get the hell out of my house. This is the divorce agreement. Get out." The room went silent. Tom stood frozen, his face drained of color as he stumbled over his words, clutching the divorce papers tightly. "What did you say? Divorce?" The last 2 words were almost a scream. Laura's eyes lit up, and even London fell silent. In the expectant silence, Tom's voice grew louder. "No way! I don't agree!" Before Laura could react, Tom suddenly dropped to his knees. "Honey, I'm sorry. Please don't divorce me. I'll break up with her right now." "Tom, what are you saying? You should be kicking her out, showing her who's boss. Why the hell would you break up with me? Are you stupid?" Laura stared at Tom in disbelief, pulling at him, trying to get him to stand up. But no matter what she said, Tom just kept his head down, silent. "I'm serious, honey. I'm sorry." He pushed Laura aside with desperation written all over his face. I couldn't help but smirk, barely able to suppress the smile tugging at my lips. Behind me, the bodyguards were hauling out a pile of things. As they passed Laura, she screamed, "Ah! My clothes! My skincare! What are you doing? Do you know how expensive these are? This villa is my boyfriend's. You're committing a crime. Laura was so caught up in her panic that she didn't even pay attention to Tom. She dropped to the floor trying to pick up her things, but after a few minutes, she gave up. More things were thrown out and Laura nearly lost it, her voice rising in panic. Tom, say something. Get them to stop. Yasim is crazy. She's ruining our home. Tom visibly flinched, his face turning uneasy. I raised an eyebrow, smiling with a touch of sarcasm. Well done. You don't even know who owns the house, and yet you're dreaming of being a rich wife. The noise of things crashing echoed behind me. Laura's eyes widened in confusion. What do you mean? Are you jealous of me? You can't even control your own husband. Ah! The slap rang out, and Laura went silent for a few seconds, her breathing growing frantic, her eyes turning red as she started yanking at Tom. Tom, what are you afraid of? She slapped me. Help me teach her a lesson. London blinked up at me. Mom! As he took a step closer, I backed away, motioning for him to stay away. Laura's eyes were burning into me, and under her gaze, I finally spoke. If you want my husband and my son so badly, I'll give him to you. I'll divorce Tom. At the gleam of joy that spread across her face, I added, but Tom didn't tell you, did he? He's the one who married into my family. You can't get the house, or even a single cent. The words hit them like a punch to the gut. Both of their faces drained of color. Laura was trembling, her lips trembling in disbelief as her eyes widened. Mom, don't you want me anymore? London burst into tears, his face covered in snot and tears as he fell to the floor, reaching for me with open arms. I had thought he was cute before, but now he just disgusted me. I stood there, unmoving, until the large bed from the master bedroom was thrown outside. Then I closed the door right in front of their faces. No, I'm not agreeing to the divorce. I'm not leaving. Yasim, you, Mom! The three of them were dragged out by the bodyguards, kicking and screaming. Tom didn't want a divorce. It didn't matter. I had my own ways. And when it all came crashing down, I hoped they'd remember who they were dealing with. Everything the three of them had left behind in the villa was thrown out by morning. Anything still outside the door was sent straight to the trash. Tom was relentless. After I slammed the door, he stood outside, scolding me nonstop. Yasim, legally, I'm still your husband. How can you do this to me? I made a few mistakes, but it's because you lied to me first. What did you expect? I've apologized. What more do you want from me? You're a mother. Think about our son. At the mention of London, a coldness swept over my eyes. The image of London calling someone else Mom and drugging me flashed through my mind. I scoffed, picking up the phone to call his extracurricular class instructor. I withdrew him from all of his classes and returned all the high-end designer children's clothes I had pre-ordered. If he wanted someone else to be his mom, I would just give him what he wanted. While Tom continued to scold me, I sat at my computer to deal with my work. The warmth inside the villa contrasted sharply with the cold winds outside. A few minutes passed, and Tom eventually wore himself out from yelling. Just when it seemed like things were quieting down, the noise outside started again. I glanced out from the second floor and couldn't help but smirk. Laura and Tom were at it again. Well, more precisely, Laura was scratching Tom, and Tom was too scared to retaliate. In the chaos, London, whose nose was running from the cold, was pushed to the ground and accidentally stepped on by Laura's high heel. Ah, Mommy! With London's cries, Laura's patience snapped, and she couldn't keep up her act anymore. Tom, is this what you meant by making me wealthy? My house, my clothes, my jewelry, they're all gone. You liar! How dare you pretend to be rich? You worthless trash! You dare deceive me? I'll destroy you! Tom couldn't look her in the eye after that, but he still stubbornly refused to admit defeat, continuing to insist how important he was to my family. After a few more scratches from Laura, he gritted his teeth and shoved her away, pointing at the villa's door. I'm not divorced yet. I still have a share in this house. I'm important to her family, and the kid is still in my custody. I want Yasim to beg me to come back. Laura snorted in disdain, crossing her arms. Yeah, sure. When I heard Tom claim he was so essential to my family, I couldn't hold back a scoff. What was he important for? He was just a parasite in the company, a man who abandoned his own responsibilities. And I had foolishly given birth to an equally worthless child for him. I narrowed my eyes and sent a message to HR, instructing them to fire Tom. It was a good thing Tom reminded me. My gaze shifted to the two people dragging my child away. I couldn't help but smile knowingly. The first thing I did after kicking them out was cut off Tom's financial support. Tom was desperate now, bombarding me with calls. Dozens of messages followed, and my phone showed over a dozen missed calls in less than half an hour. He went from apologizing to cursing me out. Just wait and see. You kicked me out of the company, and now you've kicked my kid out of the house. You'll pay for this. Even if you beg us to come back now, we won't do it. If you want divorce, you better compensate me with $30 million. Otherwise, no deal. Can't you just let this slide for the sake of our son? I swear I'll never make the same mistake again. I could almost see the malicious grin on his face through the screen. I didn't even bother responding. I just added both him and Laura to my blacklist. But the next day, something unexpected happened. My photos were all over the internet. The tragedy of a man who became a stay-at-home husband for love. My child and I were kicked out of the house. Craig Group's vice president abandons husband and child. The image showed London standing alone outside the villa, with a video clip attached below. "Mom, open the door. I'm sorry." The child, barely a few years old, cried out desperately, his small frozen hands pounding the iron gate. Tears streamed down his face bright red from the cold, looking utterly pitiful. There was nobody else around, their belongings scattered on the ground, discarded. The boy's crying was heartbreaking. Then came the photo of me. Tom said nothing about his affair with Laura, focusing entirely on his supposed sacrifices for my family and company, and, of course, the innocence of the child. I worked for the Craig family for 7 or 8 years. Yasim is unpredictable and even cruel to the child. She doesn't see me or the kid as human. Does being rich give her the right to do whatever she wants? My poor son, he actually has such a vicious mother. As soon as the video went viral, the internet exploded. Oh my God, how ruthless. She's got all this money and she still doesn't want her child? She abandoned them just like that. If she doesn't come out and clarify, it's like she's admitting it. Maybe she feels guilty. The Craig Group's reputation took a hit. People started boycotting, and many contracts were canceled. My name and photos were smeared with malicious rumors. While the internet was in an uproar, Laura, with tear-streaked cheeks, stepped up. She posted a video publicly accusing me. "I'm Yasim's best friend. My name is Laura. Yasim told me she wanted to get rid of her husband and child, so she came to me." She paused for effect, wiping her eyes and pretending to sob. "She threatened my parents' jobs, giving me $100,000 to seduce her husband, to catch him cheating. She pretended to be blind." My heart dropped and I sighed heavily. As expected, they were a match made in hell. The video of London, along with the 2 damning reports, took just 3 days to claim the top spot on the trending charts. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed with a new message. "Don't be so cruel. I'm giving you one last chance." It didn't take a genius to know who sent it. Just as I was about to have my lawyer send them a formal notice, I spotted a familiar figure outside the villa. It had been a few days, but London looked pale. He coughed a couple of times, sniffling, wearing his backpack, standing alone at the door, squatting by the corner. The moment he saw my car, he jumped up, rushing toward the front without a second thought. "Mom! Mom, I miss you!" At that moment, my phone pinged again, this time from Tom. "Get the kid to come home, or don't blame me for being merciless." I hadn't planned on letting London inside, but seeing that message changed my mind. "London, come in." His eyes lit up with surprise and he skipped inside. "Mom, I'm sorry, I love you. Dad's sorry too." He tried to hug me, but when I saw the dirt under his fingernails and the snot on his face, I stepped back and smiled, telling him to put his bag down first. Pouting, he clutched his bag tightly. "No, Dad said, my homework is still in my bag. I have to finish it." Hearing that, I chuckled. "Okay." As he left the couch, I glanced at the security monitor. Tom and Lara clearly hadn't been taking care of him. After being away for a few days, London hadn't even changed clothes. His hands and feet were covered in grime, his face frozen red, still sniffling from his cold. Gone was the careful, loving attention he'd once received from me. Now, I had the nanny look after him. When I saw London eating so fast, I couldn't help but notice how tightly he clutched his bag. After he finished, I stood. "I need to handle some work. You can play by yourself." London's face lit up, and he nodded before running off. I closed the study door behind me, opening my computer. On the monitor, London could be seen running around with his bag. Soon he glanced around, and when no one was looking, he quietly opened the bedroom drawer. A few seconds later, he closed it, disappointment written all over his face. There's no money and no jewelry. I raised an eyebrow and almost couldn't restrain my smile. By the time he reached the first floor, I came out of the study, unlocked the small door to the closet, and placed the key to the glass cabinet on top. The entire cabinet was filled with jewelry that shone brilliantly under the lights. After doing this, I shut the door behind me. Later that night, I closed my eyes, listening to the notifications from the security system on my phone. Groggily blinking awake at 2 a.m., I saw my dear son, wide awake. "Dad, I can't fit all these things in." Whispering into his smart wristwatch, London stood in front of the jewelry cabinet, speaking to Tom on the other end. His voice was excited as Tom instructed him, "Open the cabinet. Pick out the big ones and grab the colorful ones too. The bigger the gem, the more valuable it is. When you bring these back, I'll treat you to a fancy dinner. When we have money, we'll make your mom leave." One by one, the jewelry pieces were placed into London's backpack. As they snickered on the other end, Lara also spoke up. "And the brown bag on the shelf, London. Make sure to bring that back. Good boy." Pretending not to know anything, I closed my eyes again. The next morning, London couldn't sit still. It was as though there were thorns in his seat. He wiggled back and forth on the chair, his eyes darting toward the door every few seconds. "Mom, can I go to school now?" I smiled sweetly. "Of course, sweetheart. But first, let me check your bag." His face froze, and in that moment, I knew the game was finally over. I miss Dad. Don't even think about it. Taking a sip of coffee, I picked up my phone without looking up. After a few quiet seconds, London began to whine. "But Mom, Dad, and you are a family. I don't want to lose both of you. Mom, please forgive Dad. I don't want you two to get divorced." When London said this, he looked a bit guilty, but quickly started begging me to agree. I didn't answer, but London was getting impatient. "I'm Daddy and Mommy's little treasure. Let me go find Dad. I'll make Dad apologize to you." When I heard he was going to look for Tom, I smiled but said nothing. The driver took him to school, and as they walked out, London tugged on the strap of his backpack, his face turning red as if the bag was heavy. The driver tried to help with the bag, but London refused. Compared to when he came home yesterday, his backpack seemed much bulkier now, clearly stuffed with jewelry bags and other items. Once they were out of sight, I quickly tapped away on my phone. A few hours later, I received a reply. The child was taken from the kindergarten. It was still noon, and school wasn't out yet. As I looked at the photo sent to me, I took a deep breath. "All right, you don't need to pick him up tonight. He won't be coming back." London had been taken by Tom and Laura. The video went viral, and the online boycott against Craig Group's products grew louder. Some even went to the company to protest. A group of women poured red paint outside the company's doors, holding megaphones and chanting slogans about punishing the wicked and rewarding the good. "Let that filthy woman come out. We want to see her face. She's the one who's ruining the image of virtuous wives and mothers. Just because she has money doesn't mean she can act like this. What kind of woman is this? This company is going down. Come on, everyone." I avoided stepping in the paint and calmly walked into the company. Behind me, someone recognized me and gasped, "It's her! That wicked woman!" Suddenly, a flood of phone cameras were pointed at me, and from the crowd, someone shouted as they threw an egg, "Filthy woman, you'll get what you deserve." The egg hit a bodyguard instead, and I was escorted into the building, the crowd becoming increasingly rowdy, pushing and shoving, trying to break through. But soon someone pointed behind. "Look, the police are here. Who called the cops? Was it you?" It wasn't me! The sound of police sirens grew louder, and the leading women looked at each other with panic in their eyes. The confused onlookers kept yelling about arresting me, unaware that I was the one who had called the police. Wait! You've got the wrong person! You should arrest her! The loudspeakers were knocked over, banners and megaphones trampled underfoot as the police grabbed the ringleaders. They were slow to react, but soon they realized the situation. We're arresting you. Ms. Yasim Craig reported your gathering and disorderly conduct. You're coming with us. The crowd erupted into chaos, shouting that they had arrested the wrong person. As I walked to the police car, I called my lawyer. It was Tom. Time to make them pay. I reported that someone had encouraged my child to steal valuables and jewelry. Here's the evidence. As soon as I arrived at the police station, I filed a report. Since London left, Tom and Lara had been living a much more comfortable life. It seemed like they suddenly became rich overnight. They no longer lacked money, nor did they pressure me for compensation for emotional distress. Every day they posted videos online of me, pretending to be blind, accusing me of abandoning my husband and child. And today, as my gaze fell on the group of women, I rested my chin on my hand and smiled. These people were paid to stir up trouble at my company. Officer, I suggest you investigate them thoroughly. Their phones must have records. The group of women panicked, their faces turning red. A few of them instinctively hid their phones. What nonsense are you talking about? We're here to seek justice. We didn't take any money. You're just slandering us. You're just a cornered dog trying to bite anyone. Young lady, you'd better watch your words or you'll end up dead. Young officer, we've been wronged. The women began to throw a tantrum, shouting that they wanted to leave, cursing as they did, insisting they were innocent, their foreheads sweating in panic. But once at the police station, their tantrums didn't work. All right, we'll find out after the investigation. When they heard that, the women immediately grew quiet. They mumbled a few words, but their arrogance was gone. Meanwhile, I handed the police the video of London taking the items and photos of Tom's recent social media posts. But soon the officer frowned. These are your husband and child. This seems like a family dispute. Nodding, I pointed at Lara. She stole one of my bags and several pieces of jewelry. I'm suing her for encouraging my son to steal my property, and she's defaming me online. When I saw Lara at the police station, she had Tom and the child with her. Upon seeing me, she wasn't afraid at all. She lifted her chin proudly and snorted. Yasim, you think you can have me arrested? I'll tell you this, dream on. I didn't steal anything. Tom gave these to me. You two are married. What's the difference between him giving me something and you giving it to me? Why would you report me to the police? With a disdainful look, she clung to Tom's arm and shot me a glance. You should reflect on yourself, you loser. Your husband and child don't even want you. Don't you feel ashamed? Ashamed? What was there to feel ashamed of? I took out the prenuptial agreement, waved it in front of her, and smiled. Gifts? That doesn't matter. This is my personal property before marriage. Even if he gave it to you, you still have to return it. Actually, I'm here to settle the score with you. Lara's legs gave way, and she collapsed onto the floor, glaring at me with clenched teeth. You filthy woman, even your own husband and child. I opened my phone and played the video. The sultry voices filled the room, and the police station fell into silence. Yasim, I'm giving your husband a massage. Lara's face went white. Tom's expression also changed. The sound of high heels echoed as Lara lunged at me. You! How dare you record this? I'm going to destroy you! Before she could reach me, she was pulled back by the police. The station became noisy, and Tom and London huddled in the corner like frightened birds. When Lara was pulled away, I walked up to my so-called beloved son and pinched his face. London, you wanted a new mom so badly. But do you know what Lara's doing? She's pregnant now. From now on, you'll be the unwanted one. Your dad doesn't want you, and I won't want you either. London was still young and couldn't control his emotions. He immediately started crying. Tom suddenly looked up in shock and instinctively spoke to me. How did you know? Seeing the panic in his eyes, I blinked. Of course I knew. I had someone take photos of the two of them. I had seen the pictures of them going to the obstetrics and gynecology clinic. Before I went blind, they were already together. Looking at the sweat on Tom's forehead, I couldn't help but sneer. I wore a playful expression, reassuring him not to be afraid. Don't worry, having an illegitimate child isn't illegal. Just keep the baby. It's fine. He can take care of you when you get old. By the way, I've already asked someone to investigate your embezzlement and kickbacks at the company over the past few years. The last sentence left him frozen in place. By the time the matters at the police station were settled, it was already afternoon. Before leaving, I cheerfully waved goodbye to the three of them, who were looking completely defeated. Don't forget to pay me back. Once I stepped out of the police station, I got into the luxury car parked by the side of the road. How did it go? Did we get everything on tape? I pulled the small camera out of my pocket, and my lawyer nodded at me. Miss Craig, it's all recorded. We'll upload it online shortly. They seemed to like spreading rumors, didn't they? I would love to see how they would handle the consequences. The videos Tom and Lara had posted online were taken down by the police, and an apology statement was issued, but they didn't explain why. While everyone was left confused, I uploaded a few videos of my own. My eyes were blurred with pixelation, but my voice and figure were still clear, and the audio was perfectly audible. This was a gift from your husband. It's voluntary. Her brazen attitude made people grind their teeth in anger. The audio of their massage was also crystal clear, along with Lara cursing at me and Tom demanding $3 million. I included screenshots of the messages in the video. I even uploaded the clip of London drugging me. With their fake innocence stripped away, the three of them finally showed their true faces. This time, the public uproar was aimed squarely at them. My God, Tom and London are ruthless, and they used to say she was forced into it? She clearly chose to be a mistress just a month after the incident, and she's already 2 months pregnant. Oh my God, that's some top-level scheming. Even the child's been corrupted. Why not divorce? Why keep the situation going? They should be reporting it to the police. And that boy, he's only 5. How could he drug his own mother? I used to pity that man, but now it's just terrifying. This time, the video's popularity was even higher than before. With all the groundwork they laid out, the public backlash was brutal. Lara and Tom went mad and tried to report the videos, but unfortunately, they couldn't prove anything. There were no names or clear faces shown, and the videos didn't get taken down. Even when they called the police, it was useless. Lara had previously revealed her name and address in a self-report, but after I exposed her, everyone now knew who she was. The worst part was her relatives and family. Her parents were fired from their jobs due to the public backlash. When her father called Lara, he angrily cursed her for being shameless. I can't believe this. You've ruined our family. Wherever we go, we're being cursed out now. We've lost our jobs, and even your brother's being mocked. Are you satisfied now? I'm severing ties with you. Don't come back. You're a disgrace. Before Lara could say anything, the call was abruptly ended. Tom said nothing. London didn't dare speak. Lara glared at the two of them, furious. But before she could say a word, there was a loud knock on the door. Come out. Is anyone inside? The loud knocking, accompanied by the landlord shouting, made Lara freeze. When she opened the door, the landlord stormed in. He threw the deposit on the table and, with a dark face, waved for a few burly men to enter. You must be Lara. I've hated mistresses all my life. This house is no longer available. Take your deposit and leave. No one will rent to you here. Now get out. Lara's eyes went wide, and she instinctively took a step forward. When she saw the men retreating in disgust, her eyes began to tear, and she tried to play the sympathy card. Madam, I'm pregnant now. Please let me stay. Before she could finish, the landlord interrupted her, hands on his hips, shouting in disgust. It's not my kid you're carrying, so what does it have to do with me? Get lost. The burly men stepped forward, and Lara hid behind Tom in fear. Tom, always someone who bullied the weak and feared the strong, immediately caved when he saw this. Fine, we'll move out. Give us 3 days. 3 days! The landlord snorted and waved his hand, signaling the men to storm into the bedroom. No, you're moving out right now. Once again, they were kicked out. Lara was on the verge of losing her mind, while Tom, with a grim expression, held on to London. "You useless trash! Can't you think of something?" Hearing Lara's complaint, Tom frowned and, for the first time, felt anger flare up. "What can I do? Who knew Yasmin was pretending to be blind? You rushed to move in, and that's why she found out about us. It's all because you couldn't keep your cool." If she had kept her cool, according to Tom, she would have been a mistress for the rest of her life. The thought made Lara's heart sink. Her eyes teared as she looked at Tom, her tone wavering. "Is there really no way out? Are we really ruined? Are we going to jail because of Yasim and get humiliated?" Tom's breath quickened and his face turned ashen. He clenched his teeth, a murderous glint flashing in his eyes. "Of course not. If you've got nothing left to lose, you've got nothing to fear. I'm not divorced from Yasim yet. As long as she's dead." They exchanged a glance and their faces changed. London, terrified, took a step back, watching as the two of them suddenly turned toward him. "London, why don't you go stay at a friend of mine for a couple of days?" The divorce agreement I sent Tom went unanswered, but for days neither he nor Lara showed up. "Miss Craig, are you sure you want to sell this villa?" "Yes." After handing the house over to the agent, I began the process of moving out. This villa was originally bought as a wedding home, but the thought of living under the same roof as Tom for so long, especially with Lara now living here, made me feel disgusted. I left the furniture behind, but there were still odds and ends that needed sorting. The villa, worth several million on the market, would take time to sell, but fortunately its location was excellent. By the time I was nearly done moving, I was just left to dismantle the cameras and other equipment. But that same day, two sneaky figures approached the villa. They poured gasoline at all the exits and didn't hesitate to set the house on fire. In the blaze, their eyes met, filled with malicious intent. "How dare she be so arrogant? Let's burn her to death. If we get the money, it'll be worth it, even if I end up in prison." The raging fire quickly spread, and after watching the flames reach the second floor, the two of them left, feeling relieved. Shaking with excitement, they already imagined the scene of me dying. The car sped down the road, the two of them waving their arms and celebrating. "It's all her fault. She's the one who turned me into this. If she forgives me, yeah, that damn woman pretended to be blind. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this mess." They went back and forth, shifting the blame onto me. What they didn't know was that I wasn't in the villa at all. But now when I received the alert from the villa, I sucked in a sharp breath. The fire was raging out of control. If I hadn't moved out just in time, I would have likely perished in my sleep. My hand trembled as I dialed the fire department. Meanwhile, the two in the car had no idea of the truth and were still celebrating their victory. Their excitement and adrenaline made Tom even more reckless. He slammed on the gas pedal and the car sped up even faster. Just as Lara gripped the armrest, about to remind him to slow down, a large truck suddenly came into view. "Stop! Ah!" The deafening crash rang out as their car collided with the truck. Tom's car was instantly crushed at the front. "Help! Someone help!" The driver of the truck, now at a standstill, screamed as he jumped out of his car to seek help. But Lara and Tom had already lost consciousness. The patient needs to have their limb amputated to save their life. The family must sign the consent form. Faster than the fire being put out was the call I received from the hospital. When I first heard that Tom had been in a car accident, I was in a bit of a daze. When I arrived at the hospital and looked at the surgical consent form in front of me, I almost laughed out loud. Tom had broken both of his legs. Lara's face was half scraped off, and the baby she was carrying was gone. This was probably karma. On the way here, after seeing the footage from the surveillance cameras at the villa, all I could think was that this was definitely karma. The lawyer was preparing to sue. Tom and Lara owed me millions, and now they were still trying to burn down the villa and kill me. I narrowed my eyes and smiled lightly. I paid their medical bills and hired the best doctors, making sure they both stayed alive. Staying alive was enough. As for the rest, when Tom woke up, his eyes were filled with terror as he looked at his lower body. Tubes were inserted and he couldn't speak. His face was pale and he tried to scream, but couldn't. Under the blanket, the place where his legs should have been was now empty. "Ah, my face!" Lara was even more hysterical, feeling her half-bandaged face as she screamed and cried uncontrollably. After watching their breakdowns for a moment, I stepped aside to let the police enter the room. "Are you Laura Merlin and Tom Grant?" After the police left, Lara was in a daze. I had sued them both for attempted murder by arson, and these two would pay the price for their choices. However, I turned to Tom, who was now in a wheelchair, and smiled faintly. "Don't worry, disabled people don't need to go to prison." His eyes widened in fear, and Tom tried to break free from the wheelchair, falling to the ground. He squirmed like a worm but couldn't move an inch. Tom's parents came to visit once. Seeing their son in such a state, they flatly refused to take him back. "We're old. We can't take care of him." Thinking about this, I bent down and added one more thing to Tom. "From now on, I won't have to divorce you. I'll just be a widow." The day Lara was discharged from the hospital, she was sent straight to court. London had returned, but I didn't meet him. I hired a nanny and bought a small house outside. Until London turned 18, I would fulfill my legal duties as a parent. As for the rest, he could forget about it. London no longer had access to the privileges that other children might enjoy. He went to an ordinary elementary school and middle school. Even his studies were entirely his responsibility. I had no expectations of him. Tom was sent to a nursing home, the worst one possible. As long as he didn't cooperate, he could get slapped around. Years passed, and Lara went mad in prison. The day she was sent to the mental hospital, London ran to the villa crying, asking why I was so cruel to him. "With a family so rich, why didn't you give me anything good?" At that moment, London was 12, looking at the face in front of me, so similar to Tom's. I smiled gently. "Do you remember the villa that was burned down? It was worth several million. You were supposed to grow up in that villa. And do you remember the sleeping pills you gave me? And the expensive things you stuffed into your school bag? I did everything I could, London. You'll be 18 in a few years. I only need to fulfill my duty as a parent. As for the rest, I don't want to give anything to you." London left. I could see the regret in his eyes, but so what? Everything had already changed the moment he called Lara Mom. Looking out the window, I poured myself a cup of coffee. Outside the villa was a garden, and inside I had pets. Maybe in another 2 years I'd retire from the company. From then on, I'd live for myself.